Roger, sir!
Welcome to the Roger Sarn podcast, where we talk all things Army. And today, I have a very special guest on the show. We're going to discuss a topic, but before we do that, do me a favor, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notification bell. All right, so without further ado, we have Staff Sergeant Scott Brooner. He's my buddy. I met him back when I was a platoon sergeant back in the 3-8 battalion over here on Fort Cavazos. Talented squad leader, and now he is a recruiter out in Iowa, having all the fun in the world. What's going on, Brunner?
I would say talented squad leader is a far stretch of the truth. I would say the world's okayest squad leader at best. So I've been in the Army 12 years, currently a recruiter in Iowa, trying to solve the Army's recruiting crisis one recruit at a time, barely. We're roughing out here. Been in the Army 12 years, spent 3 years in Germany, 3 years in El Paso, 4 years on Fort Cavazos. Got it right for once. I've been in striker cavalry regiment, and then 2 ABCTs, and then ended up here in recruiting against my will. Good old DA select. But yeah, that's about sums it up in a nutshell.
Shout out to the DA select.
It be like it be sometimes.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. When the man calls, you just gotta go do it. So how's Iowa? How you like Iowa?
It's a lot better than Central Texas, I can tell you that much. It's a lot slower, a lot less people, a lot more corn. I mean, I don't know. Central Texas ain't bad. It was nice to have a slowdown. There's not a 30,000 man garrison hanging out, plus everything going on in Central Texas. There's 6 of us here. That's it. So
How close are you to the Buckeye Stadium? Just curiosity.
What? That's University, Iowa?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that's a hot. Now those dudes are on the other side of the state. We got the big ISU, Iowa State, the Cyclones.
Oh, the Cyclones. Okay, fair enough.
They're part of the Big 12. Yeah, they're part of the Big 12. They are literally that direction, like a mile. Okay. Like when they have a football game at night, like we see the lights, and if you go outside and you're quiet enough, you can hear people screaming, and like it gets real around here.
So it's a turn up.
Yeah. Dude, it's crazy. You go into town at like 3:00 in the afternoon on football day. That's it. Traffic's packed. RVs are out there. People pre-gaming. They got the tailgate parties going. Like it's a weekend event for these people.
All right, so let's get into this. Right. So the subject. Let me go ahead and introduce the subject. The subject is: has professionalism become a delusion in the Army? That's the subject, right?
Yep.
And I think the subject is warranted, right? Because at some point, I don't want to get into the questions yet, but just off the subject itself, it's rough being at least an NCO. It's rough being a leader, right? Because all these the armies wants to maintain these standards. They want to maintain old school standards, and they also want to move forward and evolve into a professional organization. It kind of contradicts, right? It doesn't mesh all the time.
No, it doesn't. And I think we suffer from the fact that nobody else does what we do. There's no other army. There's a Marine Corps, which is a whole different ballpark and game. There's the Space Force, which we're not even sure what they do yet, besides wear tinfoil hats every day to work. You got the Navy, the Coast Guard, and I mean, in terms of their military, yes, they're vastly different organizations built around structures to do entirely different goals and dreams. Like if you go to the Air Force, like they don't view people, and the Coast Guard does this too. They don't view people by a rank structure, like, oh, you're a private, you're sergeant first class, like I'm the boss, you're the boss, kind of that deal. They look at it as what are your job? You're a gunner's mate, you're a boatswain mate, you're whatever other mate they got. What you bring to the table is your job, not that you're they do have a rank structure, they do follow it, but at the end of the day, right, like if you're a boatswain mate and it comes to guns, it doesn't matter if it's E1 gunner's mate or the E7 gunner's mate. They're a gunner's mate. If they say, "Oh, this is what you do with the gun," you just don't. They're the subject matter expert in their field. So in terms of the topic here, like it's hard to be a professional organization when you don't have people to compare yourselves to. What are they doing right? What are they doing wrong? Because if you go to any Fortune 500 company, there's I don't know, we'll list the big ones relevant to subject. BAE Systems, GD, General Dynamics,
Mm-hmm.
all the defense contractors. They're all professional organizations,
Mm-hmm.
but they can look to their left and right and be like, well, how come we're losing people and BAE Systems isn't? How come GD's making money hands over fist or, handing out or doing whatever with their employees and we're not? And they got people to compare themselves to. If we have things that fall apart, we're just like, ugh, well, I guess, I don't know. Like, we can't compare ourselves to anybody.
Correct.
And it comes with this whole, well, if it ain't broke, you want to fix it. But if you ain't got an idea to fix it, there's no place to look for the answer.
And the people who we do compare ourselves to, a lot of times are not in our MOS. It just goes again off of what we can go by, which is the standard. Oh, quick off note,
Yeah.
side note on that. GD. I was when I was stationed in Alaska, I went to ALC, and there's the training center in there, right? That's all virtual and stuff like that. And that was back in 2016. So I was like, whoa, right? So we were in there, and we're talking to a bunch of retired first sergeants, sergeant first classes, and stuff like that. And GD's handing out money, man. GD's
Yeah.
way to go. One of the guys told me, like, with their what is that called, with their retirement and their benefit, with both of their checks plus what they were getting, they were at $13,000-14,000 a month,
Yep. I
killing it.
mean, it's a
Just
big money program.
That's just some what is it called, some kind of like food for thought for when, when people retire, there's options. But first question that we're gonna discuss, it's gonna be, what's the textbook definition versus the reality, right? So I'm gonna pull up from AR 600-100, and I'm just gonna put it on the screen, read just a little bit because it's a whole bunch. We'll just discuss it, right? So give me a second. Let me pull that up real fast. So the Army defines an Army professional as a soldier civilian, Army civilian who meets the Army profession certification criteria in character, competence, and commitment. I'll read another sentence. All Army professionals are leaders and have the duty of being stewards of the profession. I love that term, steward of the profession, regardless of their ranks or official position of authority. And then it goes on, it talks about upholding the Army ethic and accomplishing the mission, their duties, and all aspects of life completely, right? So, that being said, where's the disconnect between that definition that most of us probably don't even know? Because until we discuss coming up with this, I can't even remember the last time I've been in 600-100 to read what an Army considers a professional versus what we think it is, reality.
All right. So I'm big on transparency here. I don't even know what 600 100 is. Straight up real. I don't know what that is other than numbers.
It's
Yeah.
called the Army Profession and Leadership Policy.
So here's my question. We looked at it earlier. The whole section you had highlighted. How
Mm-hmm.
long is that? A paragraph, two paragraphs,
That section.
three?
Let me pull it up one second. Kind of went a little too. Here it is. That section is section Echo and Foxtrot. So about 3 paragraphs.
I feel like a good point to proving the disconnect here. So I got on the old Googles here and went to the Merriam-Webster website in their dictionary. Professional, of relating to or a characteristic of a profession, engaged in one of the learned professions, characterized by or conforming to the technical or ethical standards of a profession. Example, exhibiting a courteous, conscientious, and generally businesslike manner in the workplace. 2, participating for gain or livelihood in an activity or field of endeavor often engaged by amateurs. That
Mm-hmm.
goes with, so that's professional. Professionalism is even shorter. The conduct, aims, or qualities of a character that characterize the mark of profession or a professional person. The following of a professional or profession, such as athletes, for gain or livelihood. So the Army has defined professionalism in like 3 or 4 paragraphs. The civilian world has like, if you hack these together and turn them into a properly formed sentence, like 3. So
Hmm.
what your layman defines as professionalism and what we define as professionalism is 2 very different things. In which I feel like that starts a lot of the disconnect, because what do you truly judge a professionalism or professional by? What do you judge a doctor by? His credentials, his
Hmm.
experience?
Hmm.
What do you judge a cop by? His training, his appearance, the way he conducts himself?
Correct.
Um, I mean, a garbage man is a professional. I don't remember, where did I hear this? This was like over a decade ago. A profession is somebody that offers a service that is not readily. No, this was when I first joined the army. I don't remember who. Some dude, probably not important because I don't remember him. Um, but somebody who offers a service that is not readily available to be offered by the average person.
Hmm.
Joe Snuffy, or not Joe Snuffy, Joe Blow off the street can't just go down and be a garbage man. But what do we judge a garbage man in terms of his professional ability? Is your trash can empty every Monday morning? If that criteria is met, he's a professional at his job. You're thinking he's doing a good job, right?
Yes.
What do we judge professionalism by? And I'm gonna take a wild guess here that if we tore through all the 600-100, there's not going to be a cut and dry like 1 through 10. This is what how you gauge somebody's professionalism.
Oh, of course not.
How
Definitely
you
not.
how you judge it, how I judge it, 2 vastly different grading criterias.
So
How somebody at
are you saying that despite the literature, it still goes by interpretation?
Oh, 100%. There's nothing cut and dry. There's nothing cut and dry on the face of the planet. I mean, if you want to go that like if you want to go that far, like I don't even think I'm trying to remember back to science class. I forget what it is. Like science isn't even exact. It's all oh, no, it's not a theory. Is it a theory? Yeah, I guess it's a theory. Everything's theory, right?
Hmm.
In science. Like
Ma-
nothing
m-
is 100
A lot
certain.
of it is theory, correct?
Yeah. And so with that, like since if you can't even say the basis on how the human body exists can't be 100% defined, um, then how can we sit here and go like something that's existed for what thousands of years? I don't know, however long humans have been around. If we
Hmm.
can't even define that as exact science and go 100% this is how humans came to be, how in the hell are we supposed to define professionalism? How do we have a cut and dry end of the day? If you achieve these 10 things, you are guaranteed to be a professional. Can't. It's
Fair enough.
interpretation. It's what is the old, I hate it. I hate it, but I'm going to say it. Perception is reality.
So with that being said, the perception is reality. But just real fast, one thing that did, from what I remember that you did say, they did talk about ethics in the same. So we do have ethics that
Yep.
kind of correlate, right? They do have like the day to day interaction, like of the actual profession itself. So I'll give it that, and obviously skills and abilities. But when it comes to the when it comes to perception per se, how many times have we not seen Sergeant Cruz or Private Cruz? He's really freaking good at PT, but off duty, he's a turd nugget, right? But I'm still considered a high speed professional soldier because I can maintain my bearing, I can do whatever. Um, I say that because a true professional is on and off the field, right? At work, off work, we have to maintain the army standard on and off work. Now, when it comes to it being like the reality versus what the standard definition is, it makes it super difficult, especially what you were saying, right? It's all about interpretation on who is it. Like what you think a professional is, what I think a professional is, are totally different things. And on top of that, you got how many MOSs in the army? You got your low density MOSs, you got your combat arms. What you do,
153.
153, and they're all categorized, right? I'm
Yep.
I'm I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of impressed that you know that. It's
You
153.
know, it's It's a sales pitch, man. It's a sales pitch.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. Uh, but what you guys do, and I'm telling you, when I was in the Medac and I watched you guys over there, when I was in Alaska, we had 1-5 Cav, 5-1-5 infantry, 5-1 Cav, 3-2-1 infantry, and striker and all those guys, and then you have us at the Medac. And when we watch you guys, especially when you get like really adapted, that was like my 4th year in the Medac. So I'm not gonna lie, I was indoctrinated. What you guys do, we're like, that's super unprofessional. Because we can't sit there and smoke a soldier for messing up. I can't yell at a soldier cursing. We actually had you've more than likely experienced like troop clinics versus the actual clinic, like the
Yeah.
hospital. In Alaska, we had Bassett and then we had Kamish. And the reason why Kamish was actually up and functioning is because they didn't want soldiers at Bassett because family members were there. Soldiers are cursing. Soldiers are coming in dirty. Soldiers are just not minding their p's and q's. So soldiers were the only soldiers that we actually saw were the ones that came into my clinic for allergy and immunizations because you couldn't do the allergy portion at Kamish. So I say all that to say this: that is also a portion of the profession that is like you may see it a certain way, like because you guys are in the motor pool all goddamn day long. You guys don't have time to be worried about how spiffy your boots are, how spiffy your uniforms are, especially when you're at the low level. When you're at the low level, like you're out in the field, right? Versus I'm in the AC, and when I look at you, I'm like, that doesn't look professional. When you come over here, you should like I've seen clinic NCOICs blast faces off because soldiers are coming in because a lot of times they would also come in to use the dining facility in Bassett. So again, the what a professional is very it varies from MOS to MOS, um, culture to culture, and person to person, right?
So you said one key thing. Let's back up to the beginning of your statement. On and off duty.
Yeah.
Let me throw you a curveball here. Would you consider because med school is about an additional 12 years of schooling.
Mm-hmm.
Would you consider a student in his 10th year of medical school a professional at that point?
Mm.
It's just a broad term, a medical professional.
Well, yeah, he's practicing.
Yeah. Okay. Do this. You go in to get your knee replaced tomorrow. Your doctor is 55 years old.
Yeah.
You find out that I'm bad at math. 30 some odd years ago,
Mm-hmm.
in his 10th year medical school, on a Friday night, he was hitting on a girl. His buddy slid in at the wrong side, so he knocked the ever loving shit out of his buddy.
Okay.
Would you determine him to not be a professional?
That's uh that's a rough one. Personally, no. Me personally, I wouldn't hold it against him because I've done way too much shit in my past to hold it against him. However, I have been on that receiving like when I tell like SAR majors or whatever it is, hey, when I go to interview for a job and they look at my SRB. Actually, I had an interview today. And the SAR major, he said, "So did you have a break in service?" And I already knew where he was coming by. And I was like, "No, I didn't have a break in service, but I wanted him to say it because one, I was lost for a second, and then I was like, oh shoot, because he said I'm looking at your STP because he asked me how old I was, and then he asked me about the break in service, and then he said the STP, and I was like, oh okay, so say it. I was like, no, I didn't. He was like, okay, because it says you came in 2011. I said no. That says I was a private in 2011 or something like that. But I came in as a PV2 in 2007 because I got in trouble, right? So many times when I go to interview for jobs, I have to disclose this because I think it's the best way to do it. He didn't hold it against me. Not gonna lie, he still said he's gonna take me. But I've had people hold it against me. But to answer your question, personally, I wouldn't hold it against him but I'm pretty sure it can be held against him.
But if it had been held against him, it had already been done it. They'd have revoked his medical license,
Done.
they'd have fired him from his job, he'd have
Mm-hmm.
been done.
Correct.
Because here's the thing. One thing, so I didn't learn this until I came, because I used to be one that harped on that. You're a 24-hour professional. You're on and off, right? And then I came out to USAREC. And then I learned just how toxic you're a 24/7 professional really is. That is the most toxic phrase I have ever heard run through the Army.
Oh, the 24/7 being a soldier 24/7 or being a professional 24/7?
Yep.
I'll let you explain, but I think I know why you're saying it, or do you want me to take a guess and see if I'm spot on?
We, I'll explain it first, right?
Okay.
So, as a professional recruiter, right, I understand that this is not a 9 to 5 job.
Mm-hmm.
I have 17, 18-year-old kids that are in high school that play this sport, that play that sport, that have a job, have this, have that, don't have a car, want mom and dad to come to the initial interview, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that means I need to be flexible in my time.
Mm-hmm.
That means I need to think about what I'm doing. That means if the only day that this kid can come and meet me on a Saturday, guess what? I'm throwing on a uniform. I'm walking to the office or going to the office on a Saturday. I'm conducting the initial appointment because I truly believe that for some of these, joining the Army is beneficial for them. So I will do what it takes to get them in the Army and help them overcome the obstacles in front of them.
Okay.
There are some people out here that are like, oh, you're a 24/7 recruiter, you're a 24/7 professional.
Yeah.
They expect you to ignore your family, ignore the requirements that it comes with, ignore your personal life. That, oh, if you take a knee, you need a day off. It's a sign of weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, I'm a professional. I will do what it takes to overcome the mission. And the end state, to put it cut and simple, it sounds horrible, but let's put people in the Army. I'll do what it takes. But don't think I'm gonna be sitting here on Saturday scrolling through Facebook, posting dumb shit, going, "Oh yeah, United States Army, best thing ever, joined America's greatest team." Da 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 da. It's a Sunday. I got a 2 year old. I got a wife. I got 2 dogs. I got 2 cats. Someone's don't doing something stupid, or the wife's mad at me, or whatever the case is,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that's my Sunday. I am not Staff Sergeant Brooner. I'm not a recruiting the United States Army. I'm just some dude in an apartment doing dumb shit, getting in trouble because his wife doesn't like it. But I'm a professional. If someone texts me and says, "Hey, saw you at school this Thursday, didn't come by your table, got your number off of so and so that got your business card, thinking about the Army."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna shoot him a text. "Hey man, thanks for reaching out. Got any questions I can answer real quick? Maybe I can talk to you for 5 minutes, right?"
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll make the initial contact, do what I need to do. "Hey, you interested? Why you want to be here? Or why you want to join the Army? Hey, do you want to come in for an interview?" Like, I'll do the necessary stuff. But there's some people on the extreme, and this is why I hate it, because you can tell the people that understand what it means to be a professional, and you understand the people hiding behind, well, you're 24/7 professional, you're 24/7 soldier, because they think that nothing is more important in your life than the United States Army. And I'm gonna be straight up and frank with this. Then they wonder why USREC has the highest suicide rate in anybody in the Army.
Mm.
Because people seem to forget a time where USREC had people shooting themselves like every week. I know for a fact there was one station. This was probably like 8 years ago. This is secondhand story. They were in an environment that was so bad that from the newest recruiter, and it stopped at the station commander, off themselves once a month. And nobody stopped. They just went, "Oh, so and so died. You got to find a person for him. His mission doesn't go away."
Yeah.
That's
I,
the people that, and that's I used to be that, like, "Oh, you're 24/7 professional." Just because Joe goes out and does something dumb on a Friday night, okay, whatever. Does it affect his performance at work? No. Then why do we care? Why do we care that Cruz is being Cruz on a Friday night? Bruner's being a Bruner on a Friday night? How does that have anything to do with the work that I do? Is it preventing me from doing my job? No. Is it taking me out of the fight? No. Then it doesn't matter. Why are we so worried about it?
I I so I got a point. I got one point of contention on that, but I think we were on the same page when it came to that. Because that's what I was gonna say. A lot of times, it's the you're a soldier 24/7 is used as a weapon instead of like just a reminder not to go out and act crazy on your off time. Don't get me wrong. Cruise is all about acting up. At the same time, here's the point of contention: we still represent the uniform. And if I'm going around knocking people out on the weekends, when I get arrested, it's gonna say Army soldier, this, that, and the third. Like actually, in Florida, I was watching the news the other day. They arrested 3 airmen on some type of like I think pimping or type thing. I don't know, trafficking or something like. I can't remember what it was. I just saw it yesterday. So that's my point of contention on that. I think we're not perfect by no means. I'm not even perfect because I've done my dirt and on my off time because I also believe that I'm responsible enough not to do too much dirt. But I think where the issue comes in is where you get in trouble and now they're gonna hold that against you. Oh well, you're a soldier 24/7, versus the understanding of you are Saeed Cruz once you leave here. So I get it. You may have gotten in trouble. Now, if it continues to happen, if it's like a ongoing thing, now it's you're not being a professional soldier. You're just being weird. You know what I mean? So that's my only point of contention on that part is
So
that we still have to mind ourselves because I just recorded a podcast today about like for instance the don't things not to do in that you can't do in uniform. One is a protest. You can't protest, right? But that's my off time. Why can't I just go protest? You know what I mean?
so let me fire back with a question here.
Come on.
So at what point did the image of the army become so fragile that what you do is the make or break determination for the image of the United States Army, an organization that employs over a couple 100,000 soldiers? What caused our image to become that fragile?
I think when we moved over to the profession, I think that and this is why we're sitting here talking about this, right? The profession part is not construed because what is the army raise? Rough, tough soldiers. Like there's cadences about it. Rough, tough.
Yeah.
When I go to heaven or when I go to hell, I'm gonna kick the devil. Like these are our cadence. This is what we're instilled in from basic training to be lead. What makes the green grass grow? Blood, blood, bright red blood. Like we're instilled this the whole time. But and then we've moved into this professional portion and that's where and this is why we're doing this talking about this because of the contradiction and that'll actually it'll lead us into the second question. I think it's the second question, which is why is it so difficult to enforce professionalism standards? Why is it so difficult? Like why can't I just why can't I go to Cavland on Cavazos, and then I go to Medical Land,
Yep.
and then I'm gonna go to SVAP Land, and then I'm gonna go to West Fort Hood. Those are 4 different cultures. I go to
Yep.
SVAP and I tell a dude or a soldier to take their hands out their pocket. They're gonna laugh me off of their freaking footprint. Am I wrong? And then you're over here,
You're not wrong.
yeah. And then you go to Cav, you see Joe with their hands in their pocket. This is just an example, right? Because hands in the pocket was one of them that I said that you're not supposed to do because that's part of it. That was just one of the things that I did on the podcast today. People get their faces blown off because of that. So why is this so difficult? I'll give you one even better about. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna tell you why. So I'm gonna tell you why the SFAB dude laughs in your face, right? Um, So have you ever talked to a small business owner,
I have.
like a successful one? You ever
Yeah.
find out how they got successful and how they've developed their name? And then you find out that they don't worry about their name. They worry about doing good work, right?
Mm-hmm.
If
Correct.
you look at the grand thing of, and not to throw shade at anybody, but when you look at the grand scheme things of the ecosystem on, that's what it truly is a self-contained ecosystem.
Correct.
The SFAB, by what they do and the work they do and the people that they bring into the organization, the way they conduct themselves, they have fostered a level of competency, doing the job, succeeding at the job, that allows them to cut corners in terms of standard, right?
Yep.
And so they laugh at your face because they know that they're better than you. Go to Fort Bragg, the Gucci guy, the Special Forces compound, the one where you show up to the gate and dudes show up with guns.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee every one of them mugs got their hands in their pocket. But
Oh,
who does the nation call on first when they need something done?
easy.
Joint Special Operations Command.
Yeah. Easy money.
But they punch their ticket because they're the tip of the spear, the best of the best. They got the most money, they got the most training, they got the best soldiers. Which we know is false because we see them get in trouble all the time, like when dudes are smuggling cocaine back from South America. But we didn't denounce Special Operations Command. We denounced Master Sergeant, um, whatever his nuts,
Mm-hmm.
cocaine smuggler, we'll call him.
Okay.
They publicly denounced that guy. But what do we not do in First Cav? What do
Hold
you, if you
hold that
have,
individual accountable.
yep, in terms we blame, oh, First Cavalry Division has a systemic, whatever the word is, discipline problem. Nah,
Correct.
Private Cruz just had his hand in the pocket. So why don't we out him alone, and leave everybody else alone? But yet, some would be real honest. Half the reasons why I put my hands in my pockets because, like, well, if you're gonna yell at me, I mean, fuck it, at least my hands are warm,
Facts.
kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, we get to the point where we beat up on, and it's multifaceted. We beat up on the hands and the pockets so much. It's like smoking weed. Colorado had this massive underage weed smoking problem in high school, right? And then they
Yeah.
legalized weed, and then shocker, weed was no longer an underage problem because it was okay. Well, I'll just wait a year and then I'll go buy as much weed as I want down the street.
Yeah. Do you think the army is just trying to hold out as much as they can? They're just doing it, like the little small intricacies that could make life a lot easier and be able to focus on your job. Do you think they're just holding out on it, like purposely? Like, you know what? We're not gonna bend. Just, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. One would say pride, or
I
customs and or tradition, customs, courtesies, stuff like that.
so we're gonna back up here to the beginning of the conversation because you brought up morals and ethics, right?
Yeah.
Is the definition of professional. What defines morals and ethics?
Morals are guided, right? And those are
Yep.
instilled. And that's another thing. Values, beliefs, norms, and morals, all that stuff is in your upbringing as well. But we do have general guidelines of it. And ethics is just the code of kind of like there's nurses have ethics, like um docs have ethics. There's an ethical code. Actually, when I did my I took a course, it was in ethics. This was years ago, so obviously I don't remember as much. But there's a general guideline of doing the right thing, if you will. But
But
ultimately,
who defined it?
I probably
So
do know what the answer is, but I don't.
we're gonna go back 20 some odd years to social studies in middle school because I remember this vividly. Morals and ethics are defined by societal norms.
Values, norms, and beliefs. Yeah.
Yep. Here's where we get it wrong in the Army. And here's where I blame the failure in upholding the standard.
Okay.
First sergeants, command sergeant majors, and anybody above the rank of major. This is no longer 2003. This is no longer 1999. This is no longer 1991 in Desert Storm 1. Get off your high horse. We can have beards. The manufacturer has stated that up to 1 inch of beard growth and your gas mask will properly seal on your face. Show me another professional organization in the world that says that you are not a professional because your hand's in your pocket.
I'm with you.
But old Sergeant Major of the Army, and see, here's where it gets skewed.
Hey, they gave us black
Your
socks.
battalion,
Be
all right,
grateful.
My boy Dan Daly, all right.
Yes.
But that's the thing is, very few people are forward thinkers like Sergeant Major of the Army retired Daly.
Correct.
Now, granted, he didn't get a whole lot done. But boy, he sure set the standard of, hey, forward thinking. Why are we wearing white socks? This is stupid. Like everybody nowadays wears black socks. Why don't I just let people wear the socks they already got? You're in a gym. You're not going to get run over by a fucking car. So let them wear their fucking headphones. It don't matter. They're in there working out. Give them some creature comforts. He was
Tattoos,
forward thinking in
PT
terms
belt.
of tattoos, PT belts. He was thinking of what is the next generation? What are the people below me wanting, right? And that's the thing. Too many times we get wrapped up in the, well, we're the army, you got to conform to us. Huh? Wonder why we're in a recruiting crisis. Shocker. Because I'm just saying, people forget at one time. I remember my grandfather went to basic training in 1949.
About the same time I did.
Pretty close. I remember him telling me stories about basic training and like, yeah, if you're gonna be a shitbag and a piece of shit and fuck up. I remember my drill sergeants locked me in a wall locker for a day, and then every time they walk by smoking, they blow cigarette and cigar smoke um, through the little vent, the little vents on the wall locker.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh fuck, I screwed up. I joined the goddamn army. This is gonna be shitty. Well, guess what? That ain't a thing anymore.
Mm-mm.
We adapted, we overcame, and we went, oh well, maybe beating privates in basic training, why they're not joining the army. If we took the will of the army, right, the way I see the army behave now and our rigidity on back in my day, right, the standard, the stiff, this when I was a private, right. I'm gonna be real honest here, and probably catch you some flack for this one, but people of color still wouldn't be able to vote. Women wouldn't be able to vote, right? If we treated society how the army was, that was what we'd be back to. You wouldn't be a voter. You wouldn't be allowed to join the army. You wouldn't be allowed to own property. My wife wouldn't be able to vote or buy a car or own property or have a job, right? So why is the rest of society, and I'm not arguing whether we're advancing for the good or bad, because that ain't for me to decide,
You're
but
just arguing
society is advancing.
evolution. Evolution.
So why are we so hard against evolution? Why are, and this is where it's skewed because the people in authority are 20 years plus deep in the army. They're the ones writing policy, making the decisions. And we're over here like, so fun, so super sidebar, but this proves my point, right? So I got a buddy in the Coast Guard. Just spent 2 weeks out on a boat in the ocean shooting Coast Guard guns, right? And he was talking about the big little turret thing on the front of the boat and how they were having all these problems with like driving bans and stuff on the gun. I'm like, man, that must suck to clean. And he's like, send me a picture of this thing. He's like, no, I got this little thing that you hook to an air compressor and you slide it down the barrel and it like scrubs itself down the barrel and it's like pneumatic powered and all this cool stuff. And he's like, so I got 6 dudes cleaning this barrel, but we're just standing there watching this thing. And when
Mhm.
it gets to the other end, you pull on the cord and it comes back.
Gotcha.
And so keep in mind, right? So when you bore sight a gun on a Coast Guard cruiser, right?
Mhm.
It involves the shipbuilder, the gun builder, like 30 other people, like millions of dollars of precision equipment, right? The
Mhm.
boat's in dry dock. It's got to be like 70 degrees outside, plus or minus 5 degrees. The humidity's got to be 35%. And all these like super criteria things has to happen for them to bore sight the gun to the boat. So, because, they got a camera over here and all this shit on the boat that does gun things and you shoot shit. Science
Yeah.
happens, right? And they can put this little pneumatic scrubber down the barrel and clean the gun barrel. So I hit up a buddy of mine that's a master gunner. I'm like, bro, game changer. These things cost like $15,000. You're an ABCT. I know you guys got money burning holes in your pocket. Order one of these for a Bradley. Try it out. It's going to save you so much time because traditionally we clean the Bradley barrel with like screw together poles and by hand, and it takes forever and it sucks and it makes your life
Why?
miserable. The response was, oh my God, you will destroy the Bradley. Not that exactly, but that was basically the response. So I'm like, pump the brakes, go back to Coast Guard, 60 people, all this crazy shit, environmental factors coming to play to bore sight this gun, and they can run a pneumatic scrubber down the barrel. But my Bradley that I literally use a little telescope in the end of the gun tube and like yelling at some dude to bore sight it, I can't run it down because it's going to destroy the Bradley. It's like, you're an idiot. You are so wrapped up in the way that the textbook says instead of, hey, this is a good idea and can save my crew so much time, heartache, and effort.
Mm.
Let me go see if I can pitch this idea to somebody and they'll listen. Let's save soldiers a workload. But we're so ingrained in, power tools hurt gun, do it by hand, that we can't get past that.
So are you saying that the reason why it's so hard to do it is ultimately because we're having a difficult time evolving into the
Yeah.
new era, into an ushering in a new era, because we still have the the older crew, that the older leadership that's been in there for a while, and obviously when you make it up there and you're in a position that you've probably been saying for years that you wanted to make a change if you ever got there, now you're in that position to make a change. But I think what goes in line with what you're saying, the change that they're trying to make is something that they were upset at 20 years ago,
Oh,
which
yeah. They're affecting the change they wanted 20, 25 years ago,
yeah, correct.
not the change that we want now.
Correct.
That's going to make the Army a better place. That's going to do things like fix the recruiting crisis, fix the retention crisis. We're going to have to wait n- another 20 years for, I don't know, pick your favorite private to become Sergeant Major of the Army, division level Sergeant Major, a Sergeant Major at HRC writing policy.
And that's just to fix 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's to fix the grievance they had when they were private.
Yeah. Unless they're like Sergeant Major
Because
retired daily and they're kind of like forward thinking.
yeah, Dan Daly, bro, if you're watching this, dude,
Shout out.
we need you to come back.
Most definitely. Actually, he
But
had
yeah,
a
that's the
he
thing.
had a Sergeant Major retired daily had a workout plan. It was all body weight, and he would he had many of them. But this was when 2014 to 17 when I was in Alaska, and I went along with that. Got pretty decent. And I remember exactly about the run. I hate running, obviously, but the run was, it doesn't matter if it's raining, snowing, whatever it is, you go out on that freaking run because
Yeah,
you're trying to get ready for the future, for whatever conflict that
yeah.
you're coming into, right? Not for the feeling that you have at that moment. So I remember that. And that just goes, it's just another testament of how he thinks forward. So I guess the question would bear, I guess the answer would be it's very difficult, again, because we're not evolving actual time. We're evolving
No.
a couple years, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and it makes it kind of difficult to kind of like, for us that we're in the position that we're seeing issues that we can fix but we can't because things aren't going the way that we want it to do it.
Well, and the thing that goes with it too is it's not to badmouth these senior leaders because I
No,
don't
of course
think
not.
they're ill intent,
Mm-mm.
but I think they're just so they don't understand. Prime example. Um, One of my biggest fears coming out here to recruiting was Vanessa Guillen.
Explain.
I was like, oh, I'm going to talk to these female students and they're going to know who Vanessa Guillen is. They're going to think if they join the army, they're going to get raped and killed and stuffed in a box. No, they don't. They understand that it was just some shitty person in the army doing a shitty fucking thing. Not to downplay what happened here because it was extremely horrible, but the
Yeah.
army's reaction was the image of the army is going to be forever publicly destroyed.
Fort Hood, now Fort Cavazos, did for a long time and still are. I think leadership are making decisions on issues based off of that still, because they're trying to correct, and I think sometimes we overcorrect on certain things, but I think they're just trying to correct so something doesn't happen like that in the future. um
Well, so
but
here's the thing, right?
but they
You
are
can never
definitely,
stop it from happening.
no, of course, hell no. If not,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have no DUIs every freaking weekend. We wouldn't have no domestics or anything else. So yeah, we can never we you can't stop a DUI despite the fact that you gave them a safety brief 10 minutes ago and they're out there 3 hours later, boom, getting caught. So yeah, you're never going to stop that.
So then, and see, this is one of the things that I feel ties in the whole topic, right? So then why do we act like we can prevent it?
Because you have to make a conscious effort, I think. Well, I don't think that's how I think that. I think that that's the reason why we do anything. Why do we tell our children not to freaking do drugs, right? Because we want to stop it. We'll do can they do it? Yeah, but we just want to put an
But
actual
it's
effort,
two different mentalities.
meaning
You understand talking to your kids that you're trying to prevent.
mm, not completely eradicate.
Where I feel in the army, we try to eradicate these
Gotcha. Yeah.
because, and I'm gonna be honest here, I feel like a lot of it is done under the flag of professionalism. We're
Also,
professionals, so we should never have DUIs.
also you got to look at a lot of these evaluations, like these command teams. That's also a big thing. Like the more that they have going on in their unit, the less chances of advancement. So everyone has their personal gain as well, other than the fact that they're trying to look out for their soldiers. So that's also a factor as well.
Yeah, I mean it is, but I mean again, it's excuse me. I feel like we lose sight of risk, and again, like to me, this feels like this all ties together under the banner of being a professionalism, right? You understand the risk,
Mm-hmm.
the the downsides, the upsides to everything you do. But it's like we try to eradicate things we know we can't eradicate.
Yeah.
Like hands in your pocket. It's like we try to eradicate hands in your pocket. It's like, well, has anybody ever thought why we can't put our hands in our pockets in the first place?
I'll tell you what it says. It says, well, it doesn't actually say why, but it's all under the umbrella of professionalism, or yeah, the army profession, like just not giving a good image. That's what it all boils down to.
I mean, I'm willing to bet at some point it was a societal norm to not have hands in your pocket.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Kind of like when I think it was the French. Who is it that salutes like this? The French, I think it is, something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it was a sign of they don't have anything in their hands, right?
yeah,
Parade rest. It also puts you at a vulnerable position, so therefore you're no longer a threat. So I can see that you're not hiding anything, maybe.
yeah. But it's like, let's stop and think about this. What are you worried about me hiding? Like,
No, nothing at all.
like that. But see, that's the thing. This whole bonkers is you sit here in a professional environment and go, why are we still doing this? And then you get people that chirp off, well, it's because you're a professional. It's like, well, that's okay. That's not a good enough answer,
No, I
first
think
of
it's
all.
just
And
they
then
can't let it go.
they drum into things like, well, it's to show that you're not concealing. Like, first of all, let's pump the brakes here, Sergeant Major. Who you worried about coming at you like that in the first place?
Whose face you
Second of
just
all,
blow off?
if you're that worried about Joe coming up to you with a knife, this ain't a you need to change my hands in my pockets. This is a you need to reevaluate what you're doing as a leader.
Mm, I can see that.
Like if you're that worried about getting shanked in the motor pool, what are you doing to get shanked in the first place? Like that's a big question.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean I get it, but again, it's like we sit here and we beat our heads, and it's like we talked about this the other day, like bro, I'm just so at the point like fuck it, let them put their hands in their pockets. Like I don't care anymore.
Go for it.
Like in the grand scheme of this being 2024, bro, I'm worried about trying to figure out how I'm gonna stop some dude with RPG duct taped to the bottom of a drone.
Mm.
And if Joe's got his hands in his pocket, like let's be honest, Joe and his hands in his pocket ain't gonna get me killed. That drone with RPG, oh yeah, that dude's gonna
Yeah,
kill me deader than a doornail.
couldn't care less. Let's um let's move into the next question. I think the next question, I think it'll come up. We're at that point is, what can we do to mentor these soldiers into professional leaders? Then what can we do in order to get these soldiers to be professional leaders, but not be to a point that it's irrational? Like we're speaking of, like we're doing things for no reason, or we're putting too much emphasis on this. We're not thinking about the why are we still doing things. There are more important things to worry about. There are easier ways to do things. How can we do that with soldiers?
Listen, that simple. Listen,
Listen.
Listen,
Okay.
when is the last time,
Okay.
prime example, where I'm at in Iowa, a military uniform is borderline feared.
Meaning
People people will not come up and talk to me uniform.
now is it a good fear or a bad, like a respect
I
fear
have
type
no
thing?
idea. I have no idea. It's just Iowa. I quit asking questions a long time ago.
Okay.
But so when I got here, civilian clothes was the daily uniform. The only stipulation was if you went and did a table setup at a school, you wore a uniform, which okay, got to stand out in a school, right? They're
Hmm.
17-year-old kids, they don't give a shit anyway. Um and this goes into another thing, part of the when we do an initial interview, low threat environment, reducing the threat. Military is a big scary thing. So how do I reduce the threat and make them feel comfortable, right?
Mm.
Um, so I come here and we're wearing civilian clothes, right? People want to talk to you and hey man, I noticed you got an army shirt on, you in the United States Army and stuff like that. And then General Davis comes out with his uniform policy. So Mondays, everybody will wear AGSUs or ASUs. Tuesday through Thursday, you will be in ACUs. If you go to a school visit, ACUs or not, yeah, ACUs are okay. But if you want, it's okay to wear your dress uniform. And then Fridays is business casual. I was like, okay, weird flex, bro, but you're the general guy. I'll go with what you say.
Hmm.
Um, and then the kick in the nuts came. Hand signed on the MFR. Thanks to all the brigade and senior level enlisted leadership for your input, Johnny Davis. So, and I'm sitting here like, now I'm mad
You listen though.
because it's like, well, see that's the thing. He did listen. I'm not mad. I'm not mad at General Davis by all means. He's unpopular opinion. I'm gonna catch you flack for this one. Everybody's like, "Oh, General Davis downfall USAREC." I think he's done a lot of his time in USAREC. Be honest, from the little bit I've seen in like the year I've been involved in USAREC. But I was sitting there thinking, my brigade CSM, I don't even know where in the fuck he's at. He's like 2 states away. So how is my brigade command sergeant major determining what is the best uniform to be worn in bumfuck Iowa? And partially because they're recruiting themselves,
I think
because everybody remembers why they joined the army.
correct. Just give me 1 second. I think that also ties into these changes and stuff. You got the strategic level where they're making the changes, and then you got organizational level. They're so disconnected that when they make a decision, you're wondering why they're making the decision. The same thing with those guys, the sergeant major that's making decision over there, or General Davis is making a decision from where 2 states over, but he's not in the field to see what's going on. So I think that's also a detriment, to be honest.
Well, it's them living in 20 years ago.
Yep, the
So
disconnect.
around 2003, when at this point most of these CSMs joined the army, right? That was the thing that USRIC did was your service dress uniform all day, every day,
Mm-hmm.
put people in the army. Well, they go, well, put me in the army. You ain't joining the army. 18-year-old kid down the street, ISU students in the army, some dude from Jefferson County, Iowa is joining the army. And it blows my mind the amount of kids that I will have go to a table in a school. They won't say nothing. They won't make eye contact. They'll take a business card though. They'll just snatch it and leave.
Yeah.
Hour after I leave the school, hey, my name's so and so, junior in high school. Thinking about maybe possibly the army. And then of course I hit him with the why don't you come talk to me while I was in the school? Like good time to come talk to me. Oh, I was afraid to.
Mm.
Like and the fear factor comes from the uniform. So Somebody's going off of well, I joined the army. They're not listening to what we have to say for what works. Well, not that we have a way to tell them in the first place, but even if we did, they're not going to listen to us. But then they're going to tell me, "Oh, the solution to your job, the reason why you're not putting people in the army, you're not wearing your dress uniform enough." Like what?
Back to the
Like
army
that
profession.
worked that worked in 2003. That doesn't work anymore.
That's crazy.
But don't get me wrong, it's okay for a med to go recruit in business casual suits every day because they're recruiting medical professionals. But what puts 18-year-old kid out of high school in the army is my dress uniform? Like, no, that doesn't work anymore. And I think, and this is a long about way to say how we fix it. We listen. You and me, our sergeant majors, our first sergeants, we listen to what Joe is telling us. We don't fix the problems we had. They're not problems anymore. We already fixed hazing. We fixed bullying. We
Yeah.
fixed no whatever LGBTQ whatever in the army. We fixed that shit already. That's not a
Yeah.
problem anymore.
Don't ask, don't
We're
tell.
not focusing. We're not fixing your private's problem today.
Hmm.
And that's where I think we run into the issues of professionalism is we don't listen. We don't let the next generation of leaders set the stage for them to be successful leaders. Try to shove our view down their throat.
I also think that we're not listening. So by default, we're not engaged enough with these soldiers. Prime example would be social media. Like we're upset. I've seen so many leaders get on there and kind of like call these troops out or stitch and talk about what the troop is doing wrong. But where's the I'm gonna let me do it with you so I can show you the right way to do it, because you're not gonna get off of it. You're not gonna get off of social media, obviously, because these kids are with their phones 24/7, right? Shoot, even me, I'm with my phone 24/7. My phone is right here. So I I think that we're not engaging with them. We're not, and by default, we're not listening, and we're not showing them how to do things the right way. We're just badgering them every time they do something wrong. So in turn, it creates animosity, which doesn't allow them to, or doesn't, they won't want to grow into a professional because they have so animosity that they're just trying to prove you wrong the entire time versus trying to work. They're trying to work against you versus working with you, right?
Well, I mean, what you're saying, I feel like, yeah, they're trying to prove they can be professionals while doing the things that we tell them that is not going to be a professional.
Correct. They're trying to do what we tell them that doesn't look good. They're trying to make it look good. So
Yeah.
if we like, I've seen multiple videos that I've seen senior leaders in videos with the soldiers, right? And videos on point. There's nothing wrong. They're doing and they're having fun and they still get their message out there. That I think just sitting down and just hanging out with the soldiers and talking to them, like actually having conversations, not like the good old check the block of, hey, so what do you want to be when you grow up? Give me three things that you want to do. What schools do you, and like the general check the block conversations, right? How many times have has a platoon sergeant or a squad leader? No, the heck with it. How many times has a platoon sergeant and a platoon leader taken their platoon out to go play paintball, go bowling, go whatever, so you can develop that attachment. So when you're trying to mentor these soldiers and teach them how to be this professional that you want them to be, that they're actually receptive. That's another thing. You can't force something down somebody's throat, right? If the hatch is closed, i.e. the soldier is not being receptive, then they're not going to listen to whatever the hell you have to say, and they're going to keep doing whatever they want to do. Because
Oh, it's one.
these
You're
soldiers are
100% on point.
yeah, go ahead.
Because I'll be real honest with you, like to prove your point. Outside of you, I'm gonna use his first name so people can't figure out. Remember Chris,
Yeah,
Scout Platoon Sergeant,
correct.
and then the dude that took over after Poland, Robert.
Yep, yep.
Outside of you, Chris, and Robert. Oh, and Allison.
Shout out.
I can't remember a leader in the past probably 8 years. that I have left someplace, found on Facebook, called, have a conversation with because I want to. Like you four out of like the past 8 years are the only people, and there's a couple other that are they're not important, but they're senior leaders,
Mhm.
which is what I'm trying to drive home the point here. That because it's easy when it's squad leader, like yeah, well we do everything together, so naturally we're going to become homies.
Correct.
Um, but out of senior leaders, like four out of the past probably 8 years of people that I genuinely want to seek out, engage with you, develop a connection, have conversations. Maybe there's something you can teach me, pass along. I regardless of what it is, whether it's army stuff, life stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's a wrong answer. You should when you leave a unit because when I left my first unit. I'm gonna be real honest. I cried like a baby back bitch when I got on the airplane. I was super sad. I didn't want to. I hated my squad leader. Fuck that dude. Um, I hope he breaks his leg, but I hope it heals fine. That's the duality of it. Like I hated his guts,
Yeah.
but I missed him. I wanted to talk to him. I wanted to hang out with him. My platoon sergeant, my PL, the other soldiers, the other NCOs, like people I didn't want to lose connection to because they added value to my life. They added value to me being a soldier. They had something they could still teach me. And
Correct.
now I leave a unit and it's like, oh, four dudes, yeah, everybody else they can go fuck themselves. Like I hope Fort Cavazos burns down. Like,
Can't wait to leave. Yeah.
yeah. And then now I'm back in an environment where even the dude we talked about, right? The other uh probably what month ago, the dude I was having problems with at work.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Had a conversation with some other people had to get involved, had to do kind of the group atmosphere, right? But he was receptive to what we want to say. And now I'm surrounded by people where again I'm back in this environment where it's like we just had a dude retire. It's like I knew you for like 4 months before you went on CSP, and now you're retiring. Like, well, now I'm sad you're gone. Like, you had something, you brought value to my personal life, my professional life. Like, I don't want you to leave because, bro, you've been in recruiting 7 years. Like, show me how to go recruit people because I suck at this job.
Mm-hmm.
We're about to lose another one of the recruiters, and I'm already sad about it because it's like, well, fuck, who's going to show me? She can't show me how to be awesome like she is when she's gone. And I had this, now I'm looking back, it's like I had this 8 year gap where it's like, well, fuck, all these people I worked with, you added no value to my life. And I feel like that's, again, going back to the disconnect. How do we get these, how do we pass this message on and get them to learn? We got to add value to their life.
Mm.
And this is coming from somebody I know for a fact that out of my 3 years as a scout platoon squad leader, uh, 2.5 of those years I added value to nobody's fucking life because I was a raging dickhead and all I did was yell and scream. But I mean, that's a transparency piece. Like it took me 2.5 years to finally click in my head, like, fuck, if I don't add value to these guys' life, if they don't want to be around me, what am I doing as a leader? Like, how am I instilling? Yeah, I sit here and like, oh, I'm good on the Bradley, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, you think I'm great, but what you think doesn't matter. What matters is, do the people below us think we're great? Do
Correct.
they think we care? Do they think we're going to listen? Because if they think we'll do that, they'll follow us to the ends of the fucking earth.
Yep.
But until we get to that point in the army as a whole, we can harp on standards and discipline. Okay, so that's the value you bring to the unit is standards and discipline. Like that's you're not bringing value to the unit. You're just oh look at my book, look at what my black and white piece of paper says.
There's. It's funny that you say that, and I appreciate the compliment. Funny you should say that. I back a long time ago. I can't. I was speaking to someone, and I'm gonna add a third NCO because you said that. He said there's two types of NCOs. There's the MOS NCO that knows exactly about their MOS, but they're not really good at the admin. Then there's the really good at admin, but not really good at the MOS. And now the third one that I'm gonna add to that is they're really good at the regulation, but not good at admin, not good at their actual MOS. You know what I mean? And the reason why they said that was the NCO that I was talking to. I think it was a sergeant first class because I think we were peers. He said that they chose in their career a side. It was like the army's asking me to do so much. They want me to do admin. They want me to do my medical stuff. Yeah, it was a medic. So I can't do it all. So I chose this route. So I think a lot of us, what we'll do is we're not really good at admin. We're not really good at our job. So we'll just instill discipline until we freaking retire, and those are the ones that you're like, what an asshole. Like, why is that person so upset? It's not that they're upset, is that that's all they know. They might be upset, I'm not gonna lie. But I think there's three
Well,
types of
it's
NCOs.
well, I'm gonna be real honest. Why I feel a lot of people choose that path. It's because it's the easiest. You know, it's the hardest thing to do. Make a difference.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I've learned being out here in recruiting, right? If I define what is a kid that needs to join the army, define it for me.
I would say one of them is actually like back in the day. It's either you go to jail, you go to you go in the army, or they just have a not so good lifestyle.
Yep. And you know what that means in USREC in 2024?
What?
They got medical, they got law. You need waivers, moral screenings, company commander interviews, battalion commander interviews. You need to, I don't know, I don't know, go like jerk off a frog. Maybe that'll help. Like that's
You're
how
gonna
it
have to
feels
do
out here some
so
days.
much cleanup and post. You're
I mean,
killing me.
that
Keep going.
but you literally sit here at this job and you're like, "Dude, I don't know what else to do. Like, do I need to call Santa Claus and like ask for a Christmas present?" Like, but that kid that you could genuinely make a difference because he's a piece of shit, because he's getting in trouble with the cops, because he's got law, he's got med, he's got whatever. But you're like, the army can make a difference. That's the hard route because that's going to require the work, the waivers, the diving into the regs, the late hours. Because um, I remember one of the other recruiters was showing me the packet from from their first soldier she ever put in the army.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it was that thick. It was that thick with
Waiver
medical
after
records.
waiver. Oh, medical.
With medical record, he required 6 waivers because it took her. It was a group effort because it was her first contract, so she had mountains of help to get him in the army, so it sped the process up.
Yeah.
But we just who was it? We as the office just put a kid in the army. It's been a 2-year process.
Not
But
DHA,
and
MHS.
then
That's the medical one.
MHS is okay. That pump the brake. We're not going there.
We'll
That's
tell.
a
All right.
conversation for another day.
Fair enough.
Um, but it's easier for me to go on the regulation and enforce the standard. Be like, well, according to AR 601-210, chapter 3, section F, paragraph E, yeah, you're permanently disqualified from military service. Instead of
Mm,
going to, well, I mean, technically, nobody's told me no yet.
keep
So let's
pushing.
full send it. Because I'm a big proponent of that. Probably the other recruiters don't think so. Because I've only put one dude in the army in 6 months.
It's
We're
okay.
out here trying.
We're starting.
Um, but yeah, like I tell dudes, it's like, bro, I'm gonna go until either you quit on me or someone tells me no. I actually tried. There's one kid in the army that brought in his medical records, and when we looked at it, it was a doozy. And I was like, man, I don't want to do this, but I need to put somebody in the army, so I'm gonna do it. And it finally took somebody with experience to come at me and tell me like, I understand your mentality. You're gonna go until someone tells you no. Your experience, I'm going to tell you that the CMO is going to tell you no before we ever before we ever send his packet up to the CMO. It's like, so it's not worth the effort. But that's one of those experience things.
Yeah.
But it was like, I was choosing to do the hard thing because this is what the kid wants to do. Somebody with experience came and said, well, they're going to tell you no anyway. I see the writing on the wall. But yeah, but it would be easier for me to hide behind regulation and enforce a standard. But I feel like that's some of the leadership in the army. It's easier to enforce the standards than sit there and be like, why is this a standard? Why haven't we changed it?
And apply it practically.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Let's go ahead and let's wrap this up. We've been doing some good some good talking. I'm not gonna lie. We've dissected each of these points. I think we've come to some good conclusions actually. That's pretty much what we have for today. I appreciate you guys joining. Sergeant Brunner, where can these guys find you if they're trying to find you? Fair enough.
I think my Instagram is under Staff Sergeant Brunner or Staff Sergeant Scott Brunner, one of those two, or a combination of thereof. Obviously, you really want to find me, go to goarmy.com, put your information in, make sure you put the zip code as 50014. Then I'll definitely find you. I'll probably call you one day and be like, hey, you want to join the Army?
Boom.
But that's a surefire way to get a hold of me.
Gotcha. All right, fair enough. So yeah, so let's guys like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, any ideas for the show, you want to be on the show, just go ahead and email me at rogersarent@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Roger Sarent. And as always, remember, you don't have to embrace the suck if you got the right tools in your ruck. I'm Sarent Cruz, and I'm out.